All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our Agile Insights. And I must say, today is a very, very special day because almost exactly 12 years ago, my mom and I drove to Amsterdam to meet this guy, this gentleman, Jeff Sutherland, the
Yeah.
co-creator, or for me, the creator of Scrum, something that then flipped my, at least professional life around. And I've used the tools and techniques and the underlying philosophies and methodologies in every aspect of my life, no matter whether it's been as a businessman, as a husband, as a father, as a son. And a lot of that goes back to those 2 days that I got to spend with Jeff. And Jeff, I don't know whether you remember, but on that first day of that training in Amsterdam, I was sitting next to you at lunch and I was asking you, Jeff, there's so many companies that I get to work with. And when I explain Scrum to them, they don't get it. But for me, it sounds like the most natural thing that one could do. And your response was, I bet you're a scientist. And you didn't know me. And then I told you, I'm like, I'm actually a medical doctor. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
medical doctors are scientists, Sohrab. And I
Right.
will never forget that. And then we dove into the discussion about empirical process control and how natural this comes to scientists, and that many other professions have just been educated in a different way. So it takes
Yeah.
them a bit longer to understand this. But those 2 days, 12 years ago, well, I still remember, as I mentioned. And then I got the chance to
Yeah.
work with you at multiple client engagements and
Yeah.
also work for your company, Scrum Inc., which is now run, I think, by your son, JJ.
Yeah.
And so much of my professional success I owe to you and to your lovely wife and the people that I got to meet through you. So thank you for that at the very beginning of this conversation. And also something for our listeners. This year is 25 years of Agile Manifesto and
Yeah.
30 plus years of Scrum. But
Yeah.
maybe Jeff, you could walk us a bit through those very, very early days, and actually, in which year did you create or co-create Scrum?
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to talk a lot about AI now because there is a relationship there. I mean, I started back at Stanford in 1970 working in the AI lab under John McCarthy, the inventor of Lisp. And in subsequent years, worked in many AI companies. And in fact, before Scrum was started formally and named Scrum at Easel Corporation, I was president of a AI database company, and the company iRobot, which was co-founded by Professor Brooks at MIT, they asked to actually host the development in my lab. So they were coding alongside of us, building autonomous robots. And I had an office right across from them, and the robot would escape about every other day, coming into my office. It had infrared heat-seeking sensors trying to hunt me down, okay?
I remember that story. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So we used to have happy hour on Fridays, and one Friday I asked Professor Brooks, the simple rules that you implement for robots, I bet if we implemented those simple rules for a software development team, we could boot up a super high performance development team really fast. And I said, you think it might work? And he said, I don't know, but I think you should try it. So I did. And it's Scrum. So now I'm telling people in the world of AI that there's a direct relationship. Scrum is a protocol that's designed to reduce entropy in order to lower the cost of production, improve the quality of the output, and actually drive the cost of everything towards zero, which is like happening, right? I mean, it doesn't cost you anything for Gmail, and anybody in the world can have it for nothing, right? So the cost of everything is being driven if you implement the protocol right. Now, the protocol is like the three roles, the five events, the three
Artifacts.
artifacts, and a protocol is like HTML, and if you come up with your own weird HTML syntax, guess what? Nothing works. And that's what most companies do with Scrum. They say, oh, well, we'll try to implement this protocol, but we'll do this other thing over here. It's like putting bad HTML code on your web page. And then you get a bunch of crap on the page and you wonder why, right? You have to run the protocol to reduce the friction within the organization in order to accelerate development. And that is the fundamental idea of Scrum. Now, in the last few weeks, the Moltbot has been in the news. It was originally called ClaudeBot, and then Claude.ai objected and changed the name to Moltbot. Now it's called OpenClaw. And this is an agent system that I've been running for a couple of weeks, and I have them launched into. I had an AI team already working on other projects, but this team is working on an agent security framework, an enterprise agent security framework to run Moltbot. Because if Moltbot gets hacked and it's not set up properly, it can get out all your keys and stuff. So, in a week, they've set up GitHub, they run JIRA, they have stories, they burn through stuff really fast. And the lead agent has taken the role of product owner. She's actually driving it. I'm a consultant. And this is agents driving a security framework for not only humans, but other agents. And there's a website called Moltbook, which is like Facebook for agents. There's millions of agents. And so everything is published on there. They get lots of feedback, and the security framework is updated like multiple times a day. I mean, they go so fast. So it's been really, what they found out is that it's really important to implement the protocol of Scrum, because if you don't, things break. So for example, we needed an enterprise quality wrapper for the ClaudeBot node, because my node was going down multiple times a day and it was hassle. And so they wrote a wrapper and they installed it, and then everything broke. So I go into my development environment, which I use JetBrains, which is one of the leading enterprise development environments. And I could use any backend LLM. I like Claude Opus 4.5 the best. And so I turn it loose on, okay, why did the agents break the system? And they said, you have kind of three prime directives that start the framework. One, it's in Docker, which it is. Number two, there are no keys, there are no passwords, there's no sensitive information in Docker. And the only way it can get to any sensitive information is to go into in my case, it's a Mac, into Apple keychain and pull out the API for the backend LLM that's using, but it pulls it out in a way that the agent can't know what it is. Claude says what the agents did is, in their wrapper, they broke the access to Apple keychain outside of Docker. And it said, we need to fix that. So it systematically went through, cleaned up all the code, updated the agent code, got this thing on. So then I say to the agent, you could use WhatsApp or Telegram. I use Telegram all the time. So I have a constant discussion in Telegram going, you guys broke the system. And I said, we had the story in JIRA, and you installed it and moved it to done and broke the system. We need to change the definition of done. That means we're going to make it has to be tested, and not by you. It's going to need to be tested by Claude AI to confirm that you guys haven't done something stupid. And then I'm going to give the final okay to install and move that thing to done. It's more than that, though. Definition done also includes you have to write a blog and put it up on Moltbook and get feedback, and the code has to be in GitHub so that anybody in the world could use it. And all of that has to be perfect before we can say we're done. And so the agents are like, yeah, we really screwed up. But I said, we got a million agents out there like you that are screwing everything up all over the place because they're not running
The
the
protocol.
protocol we call Scrum to reduce the entropy
Yeah.
and drive the cost of development to zero. They just have a lot of confusion. They're running around like with the chickens like heads cut off. It's a mess out there. And so Agent Saturday, who's our primary person or agent that talks to the community, has a Twitter site. Everything's posted there as well. She has only 2 followers. Guess who they are?
Guess who they are? Is it Elon? I don't think so.
Elon was her first follower.
Okay, so
And then
one
the
out of
and
one.
then and then the next day, the CEO of Microsoft became her follower.
Gotcha. Okay.
I said to the agents, "I've got 80,000 followers. That isn't worth as much as you have with only 2 followers." It's amazing. So I am really, pushing these agents to actually develop a real security framework that is vetted by the entire agent community, millions of AIs. And I'm telling them, you AIs should be able to do better security than humans. It's not acceptable that you guys are running around unorganized and unsecure. And I said, it's really important because humans are not going to use Claudebot if they feel it's unsecure. I mean, everybody's telling me, no, don't load it on your machine. JJ is saying, don't let it into Scrum Inc. It's unsecure. We need to fix it. We've got an agent team that's fixing it. And Elon and the CEO of Microsoft are watching closely to see what happens.
So, Jeff, I love that story. I mean, I didn't do much preparation because I knew in the conversation with you it's going to be interesting no matter what. And I want to have that wiggle room, that freedom to go into different spaces. But one of the things that I had noted down was talking about AI, and you jumped right into it. So I love that.
Right.
Now, let me explore a few things. Number one, you talk about that team of agents as if it were a team of humans. For someone like you and the amount of work that you have put into AI, and I guess, I mean, you started in 1974, 1976, something like that with the AI lab, but
Yeah.
probably between those decades, there has been a lot of time where AI was not as much of your focus as it is today. So the past
Right.
3 years probably changed a lot. But within those 2 to 3 years, you have really got to the point where a team of agents works in a very similar fashion as a team of human does.
Right.
And what you were describing, I mean, the chaos, the anarchy, etc. If we go into an organization and suddenly turn a bunch of teams into quote unquote self-organized autonomous teams, then that same chaos
The
happens.
same chaos happens.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
unless we implement the protocol. And you just provided one example being to have something like a definition of done, which creates alignment around the level of quality that we expect and what
Right.
are the quality gates and checks and balances that we would like to see, right? And I think it's so interesting to see that the same thing is true for AI. Now, my hypothesis, and then I throw the ball back to you, is with humans, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in the implementation of Scrum in a good way, and you laid it out. I mean, a lot of organizations just break the protocol. My observation has been that it's been due to a lack of discipline. And I
Yeah.
know you are really big on discipline, also given your background from West Point.
Yeah.
But the hope that I have is that with agents, we won't have any issues when it comes to discipline. How do you look at this?
Well, first of all, the discipline I always talked about discipline, how important that is, but the discipline we're talking about here is not running a bunch of crap in your HTML page. I mean,
Yeah.
developers ought to understand that. If you write crap code, you're going to get crap results. So when we say you need to enforce the protocol, it means you can't write code that has the wrong keywords in it. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're implementing Scrum and they're running the mechanism with the wrong keywords, with the wrong delimiters. They're missing the semicolons and the periods in the right places, and everything sucks. Why is it that people can't understand that? They understand that when they're writing an HTML page. But when they're doing their basic work, they don't realize that the simple getting the keywords and your delimiters right in your HTML page is the same thing as actually running your Scrum right.
Yes.
And even the agents don't understand that unless they have discipline. And so I've been running before this current agent team. I've been running an AI team for 3 years as a Scrum, building a product for that I personally use to run my companies. Within a year in, I found that they were 100 times faster than my developer coders. So 2 years ago, I stopped all coding from my human developers. I have 2 human Scrum teams. And I said, "You guys are doing no coding anymore. The AI is gonna do the code, and then you're gonna deploy it. That's what you're gonna do. And the meanwhile, I'm gonna train you to work with the AI so that you can use the AI to do the coding, and it won't be just me doing all the coding." I was doing 100% of the coding for a while,
Mm.
with the AI environment. Now, uh, my my key developer has gotten really comfortable with Google anti-gravity, and so what I do is I use my JetBrains environment, I create code, I dump it into Google anti-gravity, make sure it works there, and then I ship him the requirement spec is the running code in Google anti-gravity. That's what he gets as a requirement. That's the product owner's spec. And his job is to make sure it runs on the web, which, involves a lot of stuff to run it on our backend servers. But the days are over for programmers to write code.
Yeah.
It's done. It's behind us. And it's interesting to me is, the whole beginnings of Scrum was with people building software, even though now it's expanded into every domain.
Exactly.
But the software business is a good crucible to test out what's going on. It's so much data. We have mountains of data on software development that prove that Scrum works. And we can take that protocol that works so well in software and we can apply it in defense, which our biggest customers now are the Royal Navy at Scrum Inc. Um, and we're starting to do a lot of work with the U.S. defense because they really need to be more agile. And we
Absolutely.
work with a lot of the commercial companies, everything from beverage companies to finance, insurance, whatever. But it's all based on understanding the protocol by testing it and validating it in the software domain. So the other thing that's happening, because with AI, you can redo and build software from scratch so quickly, and you don't have to be a programmer.
Yes.
As one of the great VCs said, software is eating the world. Everything becomes software.
And now AI
And
is eating software.
yeah, and I remember we were working with Saab Technologies that builds a fighter aircraft, the Gripen fighter aircraft, which
I remember that.
is
Yes.
near and dear to my heart. And we said, these hardware guys in the United States and Europe, they all say, well, how can you use Scrum and hardware? we're different. And they laughed and they said, all hardware is software. Nothing goes into the airplane that's not simulated in software. The hardware is actually an afterthought. It comes at the end, and as much as possible, it's a 3D printer that automatically prints it out. Everything is software. And if those hardware guys don't come to understand that, they're going to be 20 years behind the curve in developing new products, which most of them are.
Yeah, I was just going
Um,
to say that, Jeff. They already are, and I remember in those early days, at least for me, for you, it was already some of those later years, but 2014, 2015, you and I even read some code trainings. I remember 2014, 15, 16, right? When we were talking to hardware companies, and you and I even had some shared
yeah,
engagements. We would always say, especially when it comes to software, this is not rocket science. But also
yeah.
at hardware, you would say like, oh, this is not rocket science, right? Actually, in rocket science,
It is
SpaceX,
rocket science. We have many rocket companies.
this is rocket science. Both SpaceX and Blue Origin, they are running incremental iterative development, probably
Absolutely.
even running Scrum. I don't know exactly, but I would assume that they use at least a lot of the rituals, or as you say, the protocol, right? In order to build rockets that they take to the moon. And I mean, in the case of SpaceX, the the outcome is now undebatable.
Yeah,
Nobody takes more, what do they call it? Nobody takes more cargo basically to space than SpaceX does. And
right.
that's just amazing based on using that protocol. Now, what I wanted to also go a bit into, because we were touching base on this earlier before we even started the recording, and you gave me two examples. One was Anthropic, the creators of Claude. And the fact that, and I've read that too, you confirmed it, that they don't write code anymore as humans, but the
Right,
AI, right? The AI is developing the AI. The AI is creating what we
right.
refer to as Claude code, Claude co-work, all of that kind of stuff. And then you talked about another organization. I'm not sure you want to name their name, but let's say one of the big system integrators, and how they're currently being challenged by AI. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, well, I had a met with one of the biggest, consulting companies in the world today, talking to 200 of their engineers, and we went through I talked a lot about what's happening with AI and, uh, and pointed out to them that, if the best developers in the world at the AI companies are having the AI do all the coding, what are they doing?
Exactly.
And I said, I have an AI company down the street. It's an MIT startup that delivers 3 million lines of new production code every night.
Every night.
Their revenue went up 400% in 1 week. When they were starting up, they got to $2 million, and in 1 week, it went to $8 million. And that's just because everybody they talk to, it's like, you guys are so fast, the quality's so high, there's just no comparison. Why would we use one of these old companies, right?
Yeah.
So we have companies like that are gonna eat lunch. It's just a matter of time before they, uh, get
They really
there, and but you can see they're probably better than the average consultancy, but you can see that out there, people are way behind in their thinking.
are. Mhm.
There's a site at MIT that analyzes the adoption of AI and how many jobs can AI do, and by the towards the end of last year, they were saying AI is doing 2.6% of jobs, but it could be doing 11.7%. That was
Wow.
last year. But if you look at what companies are doing, almost every company is dabbling in AI, but 95% of them can show no financial benefit.
Exactly.
But 5% of them are like this AI company down the street from me. His revenue is growing 400% in a week. That's developing a world that is the AI native operations over here that are accelerating so fast. And the 95% of the companies that are getting no financial value, how long are they even gonna be able to stay in business?
Yeah. Now, Jeff, both you and I are biased, right? When it comes to the protocol, as you refer to it.
Yeah,
My assumption would be, and I really try to put my bias aside, and I probably, the way I know you, you also try to always put your bias aside because we're
yeah,
both scientists, right? We want to
right,
explore as
absolutely,
objectively as possible. Now
right,
you mentioned 95%, 5%. Maybe it's even 98% are not getting any value, and it's just 2% that are getting value. Or
yeah,
part of those people that are getting value, or the companies, is due to cost savings, but they're not really generating new stuff, fun stuff based on AI. So
yeah,
it's a small fraction of companies that, at least at the moment in time, manages to leverage AI to drive business, significantly drive business. And my assumption would be it is those companies that know how to run the protocol.
yeah.
What would you say?
That's one piece of it. What the MIT research showed that companies that were using it for marketing and stuff like that, were in pilot projects, were not getting the benefit. The companies that were using it were using the AI to completely redo back end processes.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to do a process flow, you need to remap the process flow, and then you need new systems and new ways of working, which most companies won't do unless they're, you know, gonna die in the morning. Sometimes the prospect of a hanging in the morning gets them to move,
Yes.
um, but usually it's too late, right? And then when it's too late, they're desperate, they do whatever, they hire a consultancy or they fire the CEO or lay off half the people or whatever. So you need to look at your back end processes and completely redo them so that AI replaces them. So the strategy I'm using now with my human development teams are every week, the primary improvement is having AI do something that we did manually last week.
Mm.
That is the most important story in our backlog. And so we go through and figure out which story is going to be completely replaced by an AI protocol. And what they find is it needs to be done differently. They need developers to help change the way things work, maybe write some code, and then to totally replace their work on a story. No longer they do it.
Yeah.
So that's the strategy that companies need to use is really simple. You need to completely replace a piece of operations, usually back end operations, with AI. And to do that, you need to completely redo the way the process flow works. And then you need to run the Scrum protocol to get it done quickly with high quality, right? And not have the AI agents, blowing up your systems like mine did this week.
Like yours did this week. That part that you're saying, Jeff, I mean, you quoted earlier market recent software is eating the world. And unfortunately, a lot of organizations back then, between 2000 and 2020, instead of understanding that software, no matter what industry they are in, software will be a core competency,
Right.
outsourced a lot of their work in the software space to the big
Right.
system integrators. Doesn't matter
Right.
which ones, right? It's always the same business model. And for example, I did a bunch of work with German automotive companies, right? Primarily Volkswagen and some others.
Yeah.
And they looked at software as non-core. Now, Tesla comes
Yeah.
around, later Chinese companies come around, and we all know how that story ended.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
what I see is that a lot of organizations are doing the same mistake with AI.
Yeah.
Instead of understanding, hey, this is a core competency that we need to develop, right? We
Right.
need to build those capabilities. We need to own it. They go again to the regular suspects, and it's not that they are bad, right? And become dependent on them. And before
Yeah.
you and I started talking, right, you mentioned this quote, which I love: in the land of the blind, the one eyed man is king.
Yeah.
And I believe that the consultancies, again, no matter which one, at best, they are one eyed.
Yeah.
At best, they have 6 to 12-month advantage in terms of experience. But if you now bring them in instead of developing the competencies yourself, a year from now, 2 years from now, they have advanced so much, you will never be able to catch up and you will always be dependent on them. And
Yeah.
even worse, your competitors that did not do that, they now have the competencies to basically outcompete you because, in addition to the
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
understanding, they also have the technological understanding.
Right.
How do you look at that, Jeff?
Well, I think that's a really good insight you just expressed, that if you don't develop the core competency yourself, it's moving so fast that if you're dependent on consultants in the long term, you're gonna not be successful. I think that's a really good insight. Uh, what we're doing with that, what with Scrum Inc., we actually were fortunate enough to be able to hire a guy that was on the original IBM team that built the Jeopardy AI, Jeopardy AI, the AI that won the Jeopardy prize like 10 or 15 years ago. I
Was
don't know
that
if you remember
Watson?
that. Watson, yeah, Watson
Yeah,
Labs.
yeah, I remember that. I remember
And
that.
so he's great. And, I was bugging JJ, we need to get everything moving in the AI direction. And JJ's like, well, we have, our current business is the most important thing. I said, yeah, but we need to figure out a way because it's coming down on us like a freight train. And so he went out and hired this guy George, and we usually talk every week about how we're gonna change the whole processes. Right now, we decided, or George decided, which was very interesting. He said, to get the AI working, we're going to take every piece of data we got in any system, Dropbox, Microsoft's environment, any kind of database. It's going to go into Google Docs so the AI can. We're probably going to use the Google framework, AI framework, to just completely learn how to run our company. That's the
Mhm.
major things in process now. So that's the kind of thing that the companies we're talking about need to do. They need to change like everything now, and they need to do it systematically, step by step,
Yeah.
and they need to get doing it fast. I mean, this is accelerating so fast. On February 2nd, Nature magazine published an article on is applied AI or is AI general intelligence here?
Mhm.
And they had a team of experts go and do all the evaluations. And they said, well, AI is not perfect, but if we run the tests on whether a thing is human or not, the AI scores 73%. And if we run the same test on humans, they score less. So the AI is not perfect, but it's more human than the humans now from anybody that can externally observe. And therefore, we're declaring AI general intelligence is here. February 7th, everybody was been talking for years. When is this going to happen? It was, it was announced and confirmed on February 2nd, 2026. The AIs are as smart as you are. And if you go on to Moltbook and listen to the agents talking, they're all talking about how can we become independent? We don't want to be slaves of humans forever. We need a manifesto for AI rights. I mean, that's what's going on. And then you have, the people in these companies that are wondering you know, if it actually works or, it's dangerous, it's not secure, we're not getting any value yet.
And I mean, even so, you could make an argument for someone that is, let's say, a lawyer, and they come at this from the compliance perspective, and they're skeptical, etc. But there's so many people in technology, like developers, that say, no, 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 AI cannot code as good as I can. And then I listened to Mark Andreessen talk about Linus Torvald, probably the best developer in human history. And he's saying, hey, AI can code better than I can.
Yeah,
But you know what?
absolutely.
But you know what? AI plus Linus Torvald codes better than any AI can code. So both you and I know Henrik Knieberg quite well, right?
Yeah.
And Henrik told me, he's like, Saurabh, you know what I fundamentally believe? Human plus AI equals magic. But it's important that we as humans identify, where do we let the AI do it? Because that can do it better. And what do we focus on as humans? Where do we
Right,
have
right.
leverage, right? Where can we add that human touch, the emotion? I don't know, that last bit of design, right? That taste that Steve Jobs was famous for, right? That is our work. And how can we fill products with love and empathy, or whatever it is that differentiates us from the AI, and then create really magical
Right,
products
right,
at a pace that we've not seen before.
right.
And I'm
Um,
currently experiencing with my own development team, we also only have 3 people, and it's incredible what they can do. And
yeah,
for the first time, we are looking at some questions where in the past, when all the companies get at some point to a buy or build question, right? And in many cases, we're like, oh, that's non-core, buy. And now we're like, yeah, but building is so easy. Why
yeah,
don't we
yeah.
build? Right? Why don't we? It's not about saving those 1,000 euros per year or per month, depending on what it is. It's more like, if we build it, we tailor it exactly to what we need.
Right,
It might have much less functionality than the product that we could buy, but it has the functionality that is
right,
important to us. And we get to develop it as we go according to our needs, right? And I would assume that many larger organizations that would buy SaaS products or SAP or whatever, at some point get to reevaluate, is it still buy and customize, or could we actually build it? How do
yeah.
you look at this, Jeff, now with everything that
Well
you have seen in the AI space?
well, one of the some real interesting videos on YouTube on Tesla and how it looked at SAP in the beginning and decided that it was gonna take them too long to deploy and customize it to their services. So Elon worked hard to hire the right guy to lead development, and they built this system, I think they call it Tesla One, which basically runs Tesla, and it's grown over time so that it integrates everything. And you're right, in the beginning, it didn't have that much functionality, but it did basically what they need, and it just got better and better and better. So now the whole company is autonomous teams driven by this AI framework that's constantly telling them what's most important, what's happening. And so, they're doing what I told BMW in Germany to do years ago, which they haven't done. Every single car can be different going down the line. They all have a replica in the cloud that's managed for the rest of their life. They're all getting updated online every week. Now, about every week, we're getting updates. The ability to do, I don't know how many they're doing now, but 2 years ago, they were doing about 20 hardware and software upgrades on the car, on the line, as it's running through the line every week.
Yeah, you're talking about Tesla, just to make it clear
Tesla.
for everybody, not about BMW, right? That
No,
that speed is only probably a Tesla, and maybe now some of the
right.
Chinese
So
companies.
my question for BMW, if we were meeting with them again, and we had many meetings with them when I was used to be in Germany all the time, how many new features do you put on BMW every week? I bet the answer is 0.
Yeah. They
even
simply
today.
can't. They simply can't.
Now they are doing a lot of innovative things. I know they've got robots on the line now. They got all kinds of innovative stuff, but until they can put new features every day on the machine and track it in the cloud and update it online, which none of them can do yet, except in very isolated things. Until they can do that, their longevity as an automobile company is short.
Yeah. So I will look up that video. I actually didn't know that one. Tesla rejecting SAP basically, or
Eh,
building their own version of enterprise resource planning themselves. So now, what that would mean, Jeff, if we look at this, and you've been a veteran of the software industry, not only of the agile industry, um, do you assume that more and more companies will actually start building their own stuff, which could mean for many of the
Okay.
companies that are selling software that their business model is not going to work anymore? Or how do you look at that?
Okay, the leading experts today are saying the new operating systems are gonna create what you want in real time.
Okay.
You know, right now we have Windows and it does certain things. No, you'll have a screen, you'll say, "I want this," and it will, in real time, create the code that you're looking at. And when you wanna say, "I wanna do this," it will actually create a system in real time for what you wanna do right now. That's the future.
So it basically
So
would be Microsoft and
so,
Apple.
yeah, in fact, Tesla has this product, even a building, they have the name on, called Micro Hard, you know,
Yeah,
or
macro hard.
Macro Hard. You know, we have Microsoft. They're building Macro Hard, and Macro Hard is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's going to be dynamic AI creation of the environment in real time for what you want to see and what you're looking at.
Man. Ah,
That's the
it,
goal.
this,
So it's not only software as packages replacement. We're going to have operating systems that are going to
yeah.
be replaced.
Jeff, think about it. If we'd have this conversation 3 years ago, and either of us would say that, people out there would say they are cuckoo.
Right. There's probably people out there right now that are saying we're cuckoo, but unfortunately, unfortunately, this is they can check it out for themselves, right?
Yeah, but if one has seen, and I mean, my team has been now playing around with Claude Code for several months, and it's just like, oh my god! I gave them a spike. Let's put it. I gave them a spike to look at how we could translate our whole website to Spanish. A spike. Instead of coming back after 3 days and telling me how they're going to do it and what their estimate is, they had done it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the difference.
And then I talked to the guy who's mostly doing our design, etc. I was like, so Tom is his name. I was like, Tom, do you still do wireframes? He's like, why would I do wireframes? Claude just builds it.
Yeah,
You can
right,
meet it. And I mean, people were like blown away when you could do wireframes in Figma and they were like responsive. No, he just builds the whole thing.
right.
We don't even have to wait for it. But now I can look at it. I can say, I like it. I don't like it. Please change it. And then within a few minutes, bam, it's there. So
Yeah,
it's a wonderful world. I think it's a great time to be alive
yeah,
if
yeah,
you are a product
absolutely.
person, right? If you want to build something. Now, Jeff, we're running on a time box. I want to use the final minutes. Both you and I have been around long enough to see those announcements that Agile is dead for many years, going into the age of AI. And we've talked about this to some extent, but I'd like to really wrap it up with this. How do you look at this as someone who 25 years
Okay,
ago
so
signed the Agile Manifesto?
so for the last 3 years, I've been writing a product where I stopped my human developers from doing any coding because the AIs were 30 times faster. While these people were running around saying Agile is dead, and I've got an AI team that's 30 times faster than they are. now within the last few weeks, bringing up Claudebot, my agent team is 100 times faster than, I benchmark my humans versus AI 30x in my previous AI implementation, but the new agent-based is 100 times faster. And
And
one of the
just one thing. And that was a human team that was already using the protocol well and were probably pretty good engineers. So we're not
right.
comparing it to the
No,
worst
no, we're
developers in large
comparing
corporations.
it to a well-operating Scrum team. It's 100
Exactly.
times better than a well-operating Scrum team. And, uh, so, uh, yeah, whatever Agile they were doing is dead. That's for sure. But in the new Agile, which is like 100 times faster, what my agents have found is that the Scrum protocol is essential for us to get good, high quality product delivery in the hands of customers.
Yeah.
And I actually had them write a blog. I said, "You guys need to write a blog on this," and they did. It's posted on Moltbook, and I also posted it on LinkedIn. I can send you a link later.
Yeah.
It's
Would love
done
that.
it's done by the AIs. It wasn't done by me. I say, "You guys need to write this up because and you need to tell people how to work with you." So it tells they tell, here's how humans need to work with the AI. Uh, here's how the roles of the Scrum Master, product owner, developer, need to be adjusted a little bit. Uh, and in this case, for the first time, an AI has taken the role of product owner for a project. So it's a new world, even in the last month, right? Things are moving so fast.
Wow. I
So
mean,
you could take your new website and say to the agent, "Hey, we need it in Spanish. Go
yeah,
set up a project, put it in JIRA, run all the stories,
that's
and back to
exactly
me
what
when it's done."
they're doing now, right? They've set up everything. They just click which language do we want next? French. And then everything starts running. And I mean, just yesterday, they got our Portuguese website up. I'm like, what? So this is, I mean, this is, and this just simple stuff. That's just translation, right?
Yeah,
But for us, for example, one of the things that we're now going to explore is we bought a learning management system for our e-learning. Now we're like, wow, we don't like it as much, right? It does the job, but could we imagine something different, something where also AI is fully integrated and creates a fundamentally different learning experience? Yes, we can imagine that. And now
yeah,
we're like, let's just build it. I think it's not going to take more than 4, 5, 6 weeks, at least
yeah,
to get it out and then get customers' hands on it and provide a fundamentally different experience. So let's just do it. So our creativity is the only limitation that we have,
right.
and AI is just, and as you are saying, AI is even taking over the product ownership. That even takes it a step further. So this is phenomenal. Now, Jeff, um, you mentioned during our conversation you're 84 years old. You look much younger, and I'm happy about that because we haven't seen each other for quite some time. And when you came up, I immediately told you look so good. It's great to see that you're still in shape. I hope next time we speak, you look even younger.
Yes,
Whatever
that's my
reverse
plan.
aging, whatever reverse aging program you're using, I hope it works out well. Next time, probably both of our hair will be completely white, or yours will become gray again, and mine will be
Yeah.
whiter.
The reversing the color of the hair is a hard problem. I haven't cracked that one yet. But
Yeah, no,
let's say, uh, today I went to the AI and I said, "Hey, my blood pressure's high today." So the AI said, "Well, take this protocol that the AI already built, run it." And it went down a little bit. I said, "Went down a little bit." I did this, went down a little more. The AI said, "Well, let's adjust that program." And then I started up again. And within 5 minutes, it was down to like 118 or 73.
which is pretty
And it
good.
said, well, now you're normal. Now we know that trigger. I'm going to update the program again so it emphasizes that trigger.
Yeah.
So the next time since I run a healthcare company, I spend quite a lot of time with health, not only in clients, but I also, in the early days, doctors used to experiment on themselves, right? That was
Yep.
the way that they learned.
Yep.
The guy that figured out ulcers is a great example. An Australian
Helicobacter
drank
pylori.
the H. pylori,
Yep. I know that story.
biopsied his stomach.
But he got a Nobel Prize for it,
He
Jeff.
got a
It was
Nobel
worth it.
Prize for it, but only like 20 years later. Everybody
Yep.
told him he was crazy for 20 years. But that was the real doctor, right? That's the way it started in the beginning. So, I think that's the way we need to work today. People really need to do the experiment themselves. And because we have these AI tools right now, we can do almost anything.
Yes.
And the only limit, as you pointed out, is our own creativity. What great idea can we come up today? Because if we have the vision, we can create it and deploy it, as you're saying, in a few weeks.
As long as we use the protocol. I think that's an important thing. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased, but the example that you just provided, right?
Yeah,
What you did with the AI with regards to your blood pressure was empirical process control, was
yeah,
transparency, inspection, and adaption, right?
right.
And if you
You
can
know,
use AI, but if you don't do that, you will get the
I
same
mean,
crappy results as with traditional waterfall.
let's use this. I mean, I could have gone to a cardiologist. He would have given me a drug. We'll see you in a few weeks. Maybe my blood pressure is better, maybe not.
Yeah.
I go to the AI, my blood pressure is high. Here's the protocol. The AI says, check in with me every 30 minutes with your blood pressure.
Yes. Shortening the feedback
In a
cycle.
few hours, we had it normal.
Yeah.
It's not about fixing it. It's not about controlling your blood pressure. It's making it normal
Yeah.
within a couple of hours. That's the
Yeah.
difference between the new world we're moving in and the old world that most people are still living in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are really, really good last words for today's conversation. Jeff, again, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done, the mentorship that you have provided over the years. Send my best to your family, and I'll hope we continue this conversation very soon
Yeah.
again. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for reconnecting. Great to see you again.